September 3rd, 2015. You're looking at satellite imaging over the Atlantic Ocean. In the video before this about the aviation alert, this East Coast was basically shut down as far as some of the radar, the notifications, the alerts, things like that. It was a warning for the military to civilian airlines. Notice this started on 8/31st, August 31st. These are radar patterns that are tracking the entire Atlantic. It goes into September 1st, and at midnight September 1st, they issued the alert. Does this have something to do with it? By 0600 UTC time, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning in New York. And this thing has peaked at that point. This is when they started coming out and preparing that alert. We'll look at that again. But guys, this is very unusual patterns. And below the main loops that you see, notice there's a series of half circles. The first circle in the bottom right encompasses hurricane or tropical storm Fred. You see that? As that goes through, that bottom line of circles or half circles extends all the way through the Gulf of Mexico. Again, we'll let this pattern play through. You see the dots come up across the Gulf, Southern Atlantic. Then you see these radar imagings. Now, a couple of things that could have happened, but again, notice the rings that extend through the blue lines into the Gulf. But these are very unusual patterns, and this is the report. Basically, last night it was saying due to military activities that these alert systems and warning systems would be unreliable in the airspace over Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. But remember, it extended up into New York. It goes out 200 nautical miles. Pilots are advised to maintain an increased visual awareness in this area. If operators believe that an aircraft should have triggered an alert, the incident should be reported to air traffic control as soon as possible. Due to the late notice from the Department of Defense, the NBAA has voiced its concern to the FAA that these sort of significant impact tests need much more notice to operators in the NAS. Guys, they may not have time to issue much warning. But it says that the pilots are advised that traffic alert and TCAS may fail to establish tracks on nearby aircraft and may fail to receive traffic alerts. Could they be jamming? Are their sweeping radar so powerful that it interrupts with this? But on the second, very interesting, the day this came out, 2 soldiers were injured in a Black Hawk helicopter crash in Colorado. Today, 1 Marine was killed and 11 hurt in a helicopter hard landing at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Are they related? We don't know. One interesting thing about that bottom sweep there, it was felt around the world. It also came in during what was called the heliospheric sheet event, and that's when the Earth passes through a protective layer called the heliospheric sheet. We did a video about that also yesterday. Now, if you take a look at this pulse was felt across the planet. It was not as defined. It was almost like a bounce or a skip, as you saw that. And you see the hurricanes, one above Hawaii. Also, on this first, this red air glow was picked up from the Atacama Desert in Chile. Normally, this is green. It was a stunning display of what's called red air glow. This, again, the curious thing it says is in Boletsky's photo is not the presence of the air glow, but rather its color, red. Air glow is usually green, the color of light from oxygen atoms that some 90 kilometers to 100 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Said, but again, these were they're high, where gravity waves impressed the red glow with a dramatic rippling structure. Also coming in same time, increased sprite activity. Check this out. This is above the thunderstorm clouds. This is how lightning occurs. Energy is transferred from space into the top of the storms. They're called sprites. They're becoming more and more visible every day. Again, this was September 1st. September begins, solar activity is low. Nevertheless, space weather continues. High above thunderstorms in Europe. Red sprites are dancing across the cloud tops. Again, September 1st. During this sweep event started at 8:31. Remember, this is what we talked about in the video about us passing through the helio sheet. That's a whole different video. We've done one a long time ago, but these are ground currents. These currents are also picked up at CERN, by the way. but this was the Lofoten, Norway ground currents that were reading at that time. Notice September 2nd coming into that date. And this is a image of what a heliosheet is. These waves emanate like a rope going out in all directions, and they go up and down, and the Earth passes through these different energy waves. Could that have been what was picked up on radar, and was the military aware of that, or is it something more involved here? But that did occur at that point. I wanted to point that out. Looking at the sun going back a couple of days, very impressive coronal mass ejections on the top right side. They're not Earth-facing. The satellites have picked up the pulses. These are not solar flares. They're filament releases. Check this out. Notice your timestamp. This is on the 2nd. Very powerful. We haven't seen these that strong. Again, another one, same place. And this area is turning to the backside of the sun, which is good. They're also being picked up on the stereo A satellite, which is coming back into focus. It gives us the other side of the sun's images. I think it's very key at this time to have those eyes on the backside like that, looking at the backside of the sun. If you have any comment or anything coming in from that area that the sun would normally block, sometimes stereo A will pick it up. B may come back online, guys, not sure, but its optics were damaged in a solar flare back in 2011. Even if it comes back online, you will not have the clarity of the cameras on stereo A. Again, this is stereo A right here. We're only getting short pulse videos in here, a few frames, and you're looking at Mercury there. I had that question, but look at the effect on the sun of Mercury in that image. And these are the flares. You're looking at the back side. Remember, that's why they're going to the top left instead of out the top right. The first images were Earth-facing from the SOHO satellite. Now, the A satellite, which is set up as an early warning system to our planet, did pick up those pulses. You see that? Now, we're seeing an increase in the filaments all the way around the planet. You can see some very large ones, especially the one that's wrapping around the bottom. If you compare the size of those filaments to our planet, it's amazing. But the one at the very bottom is real impressive. One off to the left. Again, we're not seeing the large CMEs from this Earth-facing angle because they were backside. And then when the other two satellites, they put the occulter over the sun so you see the outer imaging. But if those had been on the front side of the sun, they would have been picked up here on SDO also. But guys, I'm not sure about those pulse waves, how they tie into the military alerts. Very strange indeed, though. It's a heads up. Be safe.